Let's go.
Da, 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 da. It's life outside the box.
I'm done. I'm out. That was all I came for.
Just came for one little Samuel performance.
That is usually the highlight of the episodes.
For those people who are watching the podcast on YouTube and not listening to it on Spotify, the guy that sounds like Sam is actually Sam, but he's had a little haircut this week. Let's have a little talk about your ordeal.
I went for a little haircut this week. If you're lucky enough to be watching on the YouTube stream, if you didn't know we have a YouTube stream, so check that out. Got the mullet trimmed down a little bit, ready for my trip back to the UK this weekend.
It was such a disappointment though, because he's been telling us for like 6 weeks, I'm going to get my haircut to go back to the UK, I'm going to get my haircut. So we were thinking, short back and side, Sam's going to really do something radical. And he just looks like he did 3 months ago.
6 months ago, I'd say.
He looks younger. It's made you look really young.
That's what I said to someone in the gym today. I try to make myself look as bad as possible and then get a haircut, and everyone's like, actually, you look pretty good.
Setting the bar super low.
And then surprise them. Take that tip away. So this week we got a special guest again. We're really getting through the guests here, which is super good for us because we can bring you fresh information from fresh people. And this week we got Andy, that ginger guy. He's taking a break from his podcast to come on to our podcast. He also runs a successful online business and it allows him to work remotely. So I'm sure some of you guys listening to that would love to be able to achieve that yourself. So hopefully you can get some top tips from him today and learn a little bit else along the way.
Andy, do you want to give yourself a little quick introduction for those of our viewers who don't know who you are, please?
God, the bar's been set high there. Sam did a pretty good job of it. I am Andy, that ginger guy on Instagram. I say online coach. I don't actually like the term online coach because one half of Barley uses it. And I don't think it always justifies what an online coach does. I think a lot of the time people just think it's the personal training side. But obviously, personal trainer, nutritionist, a lot of the work I do is on mindset, which I think we'll go into in a little bit. And yeah, like Sam said, I work fully online now. Been in Bali for a year, just over a year, and life is good.
So what I'm super interested in is something that you sent me privately, and we're just going to throw you under the bus right now.
Brilliant.
Is your journey in how you came to realise that online coaching or the fitness industry was something for you.
Right, we're going way back here. You ready?
Yeah.
So I think I probably got a very unfitness entry to the fitness industry.
I want to talk about the picture you sent me.
Okay, yeah, that's even further back. Right.
Can we bring it up on screen?
We're going to start from school. I was never like, do you know how a lot of personal training, I'm sure YouTube are quite similar to this, a lot of people in the fitness industry loved PE in school, into fitness, probably played a sport, were quite into that side of things, maybe played for a football team or lacrosse or whatever at weekends and stuff like that. I could not have been more opposite to that growing up. Like, I was the kid who would avoid PE on purpose, not bring my PE kit in, didn't like going... Well, I say I didn't like going to the gym. I would label myself as, I'm not a gym person. Then left school at 16, didn't like education at all. So then I went into work straight away. And if I look at my lifestyle at that point, probably from like 16 to 21, it couldn't be more unhealthy. A lot of drinking, a lot of processed foods, everything that comes with those sort of things at weekends and stuff like that, and putting a lot of weight on. I think it was 95 kilos. And like, I'm a short guy, 5'8", not resistance training at all. It was a 95 kilos. It wasn't very flattering. And it was that picture that I sent you. I seen that picture and I was like, I don't like that. Something needs to change here. And actually that week, I'd had McDonald's twice a day for the last 4 days in the build up to that picture. And I was like,
nice, yeah.
It's probably not ideal. That.
Something's not right yet.
Have you seen the picture?
No.
I'll show you later. So it's that picture that triggered it. I think I was 20 when that was taken. And I then was like, okay, you need to sort yourself out a little bit. But then I went into just like the quite typical, Googled probably, how do I lose weight? And I probably spent 2 or 3 years then trying everything that everyone I'm sure who's tried to lose weight here and struggled with has tried. The daft diets, crazy HIIT sessions in the morning, but then not actually looking at the outdoors, outside my lifestyle and thinking about things like weekends, again, alcohol consumption, takeaways, and the pattern of eating, thinking that a few gym sessions a week would just change the world, even though the gym sessions looking back were not great quality. And then, God, this really is going back now. Then I joined for the first time. So I tried other gyms and tried, again, crazy workouts and stuff. And I saw an advert for a gym near me. And it was like quite a private personal training gym. So you work with a personal trainer, but there'd be no more than 4 or 5 people in the gym at the time, and there'd be one individual trainer. The guy there was called Tom, and he was the first person who spoke to me about anything but training. He was like, well, how many steps a day do you do? Do you sleep well? He like called me out and he's like, what do you do at the weekends? Like, and started really like honing in on the things outside the gym that mattered, and was probably the first time that I started to life outside the box.
There you go.
And it was probably the first time that I started to cue into that. And then like, so they would program for you and they'd have programs on the wall, and I found myself more and more like, I'm quite, and this is the same way that I work, I'm quite practical. If I give advice, I want to know why I'm giving it. Like, I want to know the evidence behind it. I want to know why it works. So then when I was in the gym, and obviously I'd been trying for like 2-3 years to try and get in shape, and nothing was working. So then I'd start to ask Tom, the coach there, I was like, why do you do this? Like, they'd have like 4 or 5 different program options. Like, why does this program do this? Why is a compound movement at the start here? Why is it not? Why is the push movement here? Why is the pull movement here? Why is the more, like, starting to really, and I found myself just asking over and over again and trying to like learn everything about it. And it was him then who said to me about 2 years in this, once I'd finally started to lose the weight, it was him who said to me, like, all you ever do is come here and just ask me about all of this stuff. Why don't you do it for a living? And I was like, good point. But I think a lot of lads maybe shy away from saying this. At the time, I still wouldn't have been fully confident in my body, and I was very much in the process. I can't be a personal trainer. Like, look at me, I just shouldn't be doing that. So I sat on him saying that for about a year, before then starting to get into it more. And then the last 4 years took place. Started firstly programming for people, like off the back of the stuff he'd given me. I was giving people programs, and then, I know this isn't quite right, but before I was qualified as a PT, started doing sessions for people, going into other gyms, pretending that I was training with people when actually I was just delivering a session to them. Then I started working in the gym, worked in the gym for about 8 months. Then COVID hit, lost all my clients overnight. Started, how well do you know Manchester?
Yeah, that's where.
Do you know Wivenshaw Park?
Yeah.
So if you'd have gone through Wivenshaw Park during COVID times, you'd see me with resistance bands tied all over to the gates and fences.
Right, yeah.
Built up online, moved to Bali last year. The rest is history.
Now, the reason why I kind of asked this is because what we're going to focus on this episode more than actually training or nutrition, because we talk about that all the time, is we're going to talk about mindset more, and about how people, as you were explaining there, sometimes feel like they're even not worthy to working out, or they're not worthy to eating well because of the way they look or the way they feel about themselves. And I really want to delve into that mindset of people feeling positive about themselves and feeling, yes, now's the time to start because I deserve to do something better for myself.
Yeah, I think that's a really like nice story and nice kind of perspective to look at getting into fitness, because like you said, when you're at school or whatever, you shied away from it, and you've been through all those experiences yourself, and that's something that not like, I don't want to say a general personal trainer, but somebody that hasn't been through those experiences, it's really hard for them to relate to that. So I think you're in a really awesome position where you can actually relate to your clients, because you're like, I was that guy, I had the same questions as you, I had the same feelings as you. And I think that's such a kind of thing that you can't really be taught, that experience that you had to go through, and to be able to like transfer that and deliver that into your work. I imagine that works really well for you, with being able to relate to your clients from your past.
Yeah, oh, massively. Like, and they can say a sentence and they'll talk about maybe like going into a certain area of the gym, and even think about that still now when I'm programming. If I see a lat pull down and, I don't know, a chest press or something, they're miles apart, I'm not going to put them straight next to each other, because I know the feeling of they're walking into the gym thinking, oh shit, I've got to go to that. Or if they're, I don't know, a leg press is at the end and there's 2 squat racks between that, I know their mindset wise, if they aren't comfortable and confident in the gym, they're probably not going to want to walk. It's like, I know it sounds simple, but they're not going to want to walk to that area of the gym because of the concern. So yeah, it helps massively, because I can still, it wasn't that long ago. Like, I'm 29 now. It's probably like, when I was at the most confused point, probably like 21, 22, 6-7 years. I can cue it, like, it's not hard to think back to how I was.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that's going to lead lovely on to our questions. So as you all know, listeners at home, we do 24 hours before put a question box on our Life Outside the Box Instagram, so you guys can ask our guests questions. And you've also this week put one on your question box. So we've got 3 questions here from viewers at home, which kind of we picked these 3 because they lead well into the mindset kind of what we're trying to go for. So the first one is, Why do I always feel so fat?
So, I actually really like the wording of this question because I think that's where the answer actually is. Fat isn't a feeling. Being fat is not a feeling. Like, as soon as you start to label yourself, I do this a lot with my clients in terms of self-talk and identity. As soon as you start to label yourself as, I am fat, I am this. I used to do it. I don't like the gym. I'm not a fitness person. So, like, you start to tell yourself this story that cues into your brain. So, you're not looking at it in a positive light. When it comes to that, straight away, I mean, I don't know the person's body composition at all, but regardless of what that is, you have body fat. Body fat is something that we don't need to go down the nutrition route, but something that can come and go with lifestyle choices and diet. But you aren't physically body fat. That's not who you are. It's not your identity. And as soon as you, in my opinion, as soon as you start to tell yourself and reaffirm these beliefs, it's like a limiting belief, isn't it?
There's a few things here that I just want to jump in. I used to personal train a guy a long time ago now, and he was 27 stone, and his whole persona was Big Lee. And Lee won't mind me calling his name, but that's what he hid behind. That's what everyone called him his whole life since he was a little kid. He was Big Lee. And what we did is we did this. In fact, it was actually on YouTube. It's called Save Your Life. It was like a program. We did it for like 18 weeks or something, and he lost 10 stone, let's say. So, but what happened then is he could go to work then, because he wasn't able to work at 27 stone, because obviously there's no jobs he could do. But he was a chef, but he couldn't go to work because he was so heavy. But then he lost 10 stone, and he got down to 17 stone and got a job again. And he felt super proud of himself because he could provide for his family, could have a job, he had kids, all that kind of stuff. But he lost his identity. He no longer saw who he was when he looked back at himself in the mirror, because he'd always been Big Lee. And all of a sudden, his whole identity had been taken away from him, and he didn't know who he was anymore. And that then led us on to almost like a journey of discovery of who are you really when you're not hiding behind that.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. And I think it's you are what you believe you are, and that's as soon as you get your head around that. I had a similar conversation with somebody, and he was saying that he goes to Nirvana, which is a gym here in Bali where everyone's like kind of like really flexible and they're all doing body weight stuff, and he was like, oh, I know I'm the least flexible guy in the gym, and then he said suddenly, after he'd been saying that to so many people, he was like, suddenly I just stopped stretching, because he was like, I am the least flexible guy in the gym. So, and he ended up putting himself making himself into what he was saying he was. And potentially at the start he wasn't, but he's like, this is what I am, this is what I am, this is what I am. And eventually that's what he become. So it's really addressing that from the start and being like, right, I don't want to be that guy, I want to be this guy. And then changing your mindset into, I am going to do this, I can do this, I am this. And then hopefully turning yourself into that rather than turning yourself into the opposite.
I think when you look at perceptions as well, like all the research out there, when you actually read some research papers that look at perceptions, what they'll show that, say that I look at you, my eyes are automatically drawn to your best features. I will look at your best feature like, oh my God, Andy's got this. But when you look at yourself in the mirror, your eyes are automatically drawn to your worst features. So then it's very, very easy when you look at yourself in the mirror to just see those worst features and just think that's all anybody ever sees in me. But that's not actually the case. That's just how our brains kind of work and trigger.
There's stuff as well, isn't there? Don't know if the person who asked the question was male or female, but females at a certain point in the cycle, when they do that, their eyes will then go to different features that they would do in it. Can't remember the two names of the cycle, but the eyes will go to the features that they're least favourite of, as opposed to features that they more prefer about themselves. But I even say this with my clients, like when it comes to your approach to a week, whether it's training, whether it's diet, even terms like, I'm going to try and eat healthy this week, I'm going to try and get to the gym this week, speak with more certainty. I'm training this week, I eat a healthy diet, as opposed to a bit half-arsed, I'm going to try.
I mean, there has been recently quite a nice shift in the industry around the word diet. Because what everybody in the world needs to get their head around is the word, all diet means is everything you put in your body.
Yeah.
So every single person in the world is on a diet. It just depends on
habitual way of eating, isn't it?
But then what you say is, so when we do like really basic like human nutrition seminars, the first question we'll say is put your hand up in here if you've been on a diet, and like 90% of people put their hand up. Then you say put your hand up if you're on a diet right now. And like 50% of people put their hand up are like, well, you're all liars, aren't you? You're all liars because every single person right now is on a diet.
Yeah.
It's just whether it's a healthy one, a negative one, whatever it is, even like the stuff that we consume through our ears and stuff is still part of our diet.
Yeah, and what we say out of our mouth. Like you said, I really like that. Like, I'm going to try to do this, I'm going to try to do that. Like, no, if you're going to do it, do it. Don't, even you've given up before you've even started. If you say you're thinking about doing this, like, maybe I'll eat well this week, maybe I won't.
why is it always I'm going to eat a healthy diet this week? Why isn't it always like I'm just going to do everything the way that I should do it, the way that I want to do it, not putting it on like a little box?
I think it's rebuilding trust. Like, again, the person who asked this question, potentially they have been down the route of trying and failing, and it knocks at your trust, it knocks at your confidence. But even if you just take a little thing each day, like, do you know what? I woke up this morning, didn't snooze my alarm and did a morning routine. Amazing, put that win in the box, you're showing that you're doing something right. But when you look for the bigger picture and you think everything's got to be this inch perfect routine and perfectly structured day to day, when that doesn't happen, it's like, I've failed.
Something that I'm very good at that annoys Sam is celebrating the little wins.
Yeah.
Like, but I will celebrate my own little wins quite a lot.
Sounds like if you've not won a CrossFit competition, you don't count.
I think actually I might have won one on Saturday, but okay.
Yeah.
But okay.
It was scaled.
Okay.
It was a scaled
The
one.
intermediate one.
And he was the only one that entered.
No, that's not true.
That is actually true.
There was 4 people in my category.
Was there?
Yeah, and I won all 4 events.
I thought you were the only person in the region.
No, 4 in our region, 41 in the world.
Okay.
This
came
is
12th.
the real reason for today's episode.
I came 12th worldwide out of everyone in the world and one first in our region.
12th in the world?
Yeah, just out of my age group, yeah.
Keep that sentence. Don't put last on it.
Out of 13, it's alright.
This is why I have to put with life. Okay, so what we're going to do now
Oh,
is we're
God.
going to move on to the second question. Now, this is a question which I'm super interested in because it's something I've never done. I don't know if Sam's ever done it or not before, but especially, I don't know whether it's just Bali particularly or where we're from back home, MMA is not very big, especially in Blackpool. There's like 2 gyms, so it's not really a thing that me and my friends have ever tried. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just, but in Bali, everybody seems to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Bali MMA and Soma are just amazing facilities that just draw people in or whatever. I don't know. But the question here for you is, what are the benefits of MMA training opposed to general gym sessions?
Benefits. Firstly, I'd love you to both to come to a fundamentals jiu-jitsu class with me.
I will choke him out. Don't worry.
Just let you two go at each other 5 minutes to be
I'll have
fantastic.
the confidence.
Podcast that. What are the benefits as opposed to general training? Is that the question?
Yeah. Do you want
I-
Sam to give you some examples what he feels like as an outsider he may be, and you can say whether they're right
Yeah.
or not?
Go on.
For me, like, I would look at it as learning a new sport. So going to MMA would give me an opportunity to learn something new and almost take the element of going to the gym away from going to the gym. So if I'm thinking, right, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to be doing cardio, I'm going to be doing weights, and it might not be something that I enjoy doing. Whereas this, I'm like, I'm going to be doing exercise, but it might not actually feel like exercise. It might feel like fun. Like I'm rolling around on the floor with my friends or whatever, cuddling, whatever you guys
It's like
do
a
in that.
Saturday night.
What we do, we just hug each other. It's great.
Yeah, so I think it's just, I think it allows people to do exercise. It's like any sport, right? You can get fit without going to the gym. You can just do a sport. And if it's something that you really enjoy doing, like I know I do the sport of CrossFit and I enjoy that. But maybe I don't think I would enjoy taking on like a general like bodybuilding approach to training because it probably wouldn't have the same fun factor as it would for me. So I think it's not just MMA, but sports in general. Kind of come under the same umbrella. I don't know if you have any experience from particularly training like a combat sport or anything that you find is particularly more fun or better or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, so it's jiu-jitsu that I do, and I started, well, when I moved to Bali is when I started, and I've just become obsessed with it. I think one, like I said before, I'm very practical, and I want to know, like, my first day I just got absolutely smashed and beaten up, and I was like, why did that just happen? The learning element to it, you can never get enough. Like I've trained this morning, I'm already thinking I want to go and train tonight because I don't want to miss out on anything. So I think learning as opposed to just, it's training with a purpose. It's training for something, and something that realistically there's never actually going to be an end point. Like even for the people who are like, my coach is a black belt, and if I speak to him about training, he's like, oh no, I'm still trying to like pick up on this or trying to learn that. So I think the fact that you're training for performance and for purpose, I think, and this is something you guys get perfectly right at CrossFit, the community aspect of it. Like I talked before about people having gym anxiety. If you've ever felt that in your life, go to something like a CrossFit gym, go to an MMA gym, go to a jiu-jitsu gym, because you will not find, although we spend an hour and a half trying to like choke and break each other's arms, there genuinely is not a nicer environment to train in. People cracking jokes at each other, taking the piss out of each other. But then, you know, a blue belt might choke me. Then within seconds he's like, this is how I did it, this is why I did this, what you did wrong. It's the most supportive community. I think that's probably the biggest benefit to me, is the community behind it, as opposed to, like you said, you go into a gym, 45 minutes, you put your earphones on, you do your workout, and it's a social thing. I had this week, somebody said to me, because I'm working with a coach with my business at the moment, and he's saying structure your week, and he said to me, where's your downtime? Because I put in like 3 hours of jiu-jitsu. I was like, it's there. He's like, no, that's training. I was like, no, that's not training, that's downtime. Like, that's what it is to me.
I think there's a few nice things there that you both touched upon, which screams at me when I see a question like this. And it's the community, which we've spoke about CrossFit before. They've nailed it, and it seems like every single person you walk when you're in Bali here, they either got a Soma top on, a Bali MA top on, or a Wonderlust top on. Like everyone you go to has got one of those 3 tops on, and that's just generally down to the community. And secondly, Sam touched upon it, lovely there, and it's learning a new skill doesn't feel like exercise. So like when paddle tennis is big here, yeah. People go and play paddle tennis, but you're sweating like mad for an hour. You're doing pure cardio for an hour, but it doesn't feel like you're just on a treadmill running for an hour. So it's things that we can do outside of that old mindset, which I think probably touches back to you really, really well from hating PE at school. So a lot of people hate running, for example, because of cross country at school. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to find things.
I did the bushes, so I didn't have to do the full course.
Yeah. So we're trying to find things where you are increasing your calorie output without it feeling like that old feeling of, I have to do this now.
That's it. And you do, like, when I really believe that there's a form of exercise and movement that when somebody says to me they don't like exercise, it's going back to that identity thing. I don't believe that from anybody. I think when you find something, like you guys have it with your CrossFit and your training, I have it with Jiu-Jitsu, I will never ever need to rely on motivation to go and train. That's
different though, because we speak about this a lot, the difference between working out and training. When you're training for a purpose. You're training to try and get better at something, to try and improve at something. When you're working out, you are literally just trying to maybe cause a bit of hypertrophy and expel some calories.
Yeah.
So it's massively different.
Yeah, 100%. But I think when you've got that feeling towards something, it's the best. Like, if I could just inject it into everyone, that feeling of like wanting to get up and being excited about it, it's amazing. And that's what Jiu-Jitsu gives me. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the third and final question from our viewers. We've kind of touched upon this in the intro a little bit, but we'll try and summarise it a little bit if we can. What made you make the switch from the gym floor to online training? Do you remember when Boris Johnson went on the telly and just said everything's closed? Oh yeah. Beep his name out. That fat guy that's in charge of our health. That literally, oh mate, don't. Yeah, we won't do politics now. Yeah. Say the politics show. Let's go. It was that though. So COVID obviously closed the gyms. The gyms, when they reopened, and like completely understandable from my clients' perspectives, 90% of my clients didn't come back to the gym. They I don't know if you were definitely not in the UK at that time, but when the gyms reopened, they were so quiet. And by that point, because of being online through COVID or starting to build online, I probably had a small number of clients online, but enough to be able to say, I think I'm going to have to commit to this, because there was also the confusion of will the gyms even reopen, which they did, then they closed again. So that was how it came about being online, and then the idea just sort of twigged in my head. Like, I was sat working in a little house in Wythenshawe and a small little office in the back, and it's just terrace houses looking at the back, and I was like, my view probably doesn't have to be that here. Like, I'm working online. I think that word there that you said, which a lot of people fail at stuff because they don't do it, was commitment. It's being an online coach, even if you've only got 10 clients, is not a part-time job. It's a full-time lifestyle job. You have to be there willing to help people. You have to be reading. You have to be learning new things. You have to be solving other people's problems. You are basically a massive problem solver. You set people off on a path, and all they do is 2 or 3 days in, every 2 or 3 days, I mean, how often do I get notifications on that thing? 44 every hour or something. And it's like, all you have to do is solve people's problems constantly. So you can't do that if you've got another job trying to do something else, and that's why other people fail at it. Well, it's that, and it's like, you said online coaching, but you're not. That was probably my biggest, mistake's probably the wrong word, I think you learn from these sort of things. But at the start, I was like, all right, sweet. So I've got my clients. I've done the programs and things for today. I've done the nutrition or whatever for the day. Then it's like, all right, now you've got to do your marketing. Now you've got to do your accounts, your admin, emails, anything else you want to do for growing. Like, it's all you. You're only one person. You're responsible for everything. So it is literally, and especially over here, like my hours tend to be quite unsocial through the week. Like my friends will say, "You doing anything tonight?" I'm like, "No, like I'm working." It's a Monday, Friday full-time job. Yeah, if you want it to be your job and your business.
Yeah, if you want it to make it work and want to be successful with it, you have to work on it. It's not like, I'll just check my laptop and update this workout 1 hour, and then I'm done for the day.
No, I find myself apologising to a lot of people. A lot. I did it this morning to someone. So like, oh, you look knackered. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I was up till 3 o'clock last night on a call to someone in America.
Yeah.
But I'm apologising for doing my job. And it just it kind of like
working.
Yeah.
And you've got to be support for these people as well. Like they're your clients, and you want the best for them, and you have to help them on their journey and almost hold their hand a little bit and be there for when they need you. Because if you're not there, then chances are they're probably going to leave and go to somebody else. And it's all about keeping that retention. And that takes work round the clock, and you never know when someone's going to send you a message, oh, this didn't go well for me today, or I need help with this, or this went really well, and you've got to always be there to kind of answer.
Yeah, I think as well, if you're going to be super successful in this industry, you have to be almost a self-perfectionist, and you have to be so passionate and so obsessed with providing the best service you can to people that it's almost irrespective of how much they pay you a month, because you just want to give them the best that they can do.
Look, your clients are your business, aren't they? Like, you can, all the fancy stuff, Instagram, whatever else, none of that's going to pay you. Podcast, it's not going to, well, one day for all of us, hopefully. But ultimately, that's not...
We make a pretty little penny from this podcast.
I lose money on mine regularly, it's fine.
This room is free.
It's actually Sam's living
Charity.
room. But ultimately, it will come down to your clients. And if you, like, I know I can do this hand on heart, and I'm sure you boys can do the same. You hand on heart can say that every single day you've done absolutely everything you can to deliver the best service. That'll look after everything else. Like, I get plenty of referrals. My retention, like you talked about, I have really good retention with my clients. I'm really heavily involved with them, trying to make things better from them behind the scenes, and that's ultimately what your business is, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's the same. I always refer back. The question was about what made me being online. It's online and the gym floor are no different in terms of how things work. They're different in the delivery, but you've got to be social. You've got to speak to people. You've got to support people.
Do you know what I'm going to say here about that? I think that online's harder to initially make the connection that you can make on the gym floor in 45 minutes.
Yeah,
in a 45 minutes on the gym floor, you can make a great connection with someone. That's a lot harder online. But online's a lot easier to, I hate the word manage, but to manage people outside of the gym.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's because we have a lot of great formats now which make it like that.
The thing
Well, how many times would you do a session in the middle of, like, as they're having a rest, you're like, so how's your nutrition this week?
Well, that was a nightmare for that. Like, I would literally have everyone walking on the treadmill for 10 minutes before the session, because that would be my Q&A time with them. This isn't your warm-up.
Yeah.
This is my Q&A time with you to make sure you're doing everything that I want you to do. And then we'll go and warm up and be like, oh, I thought we just warmed up on the treadmill. No, that's me chatting to you, making sure
You know when people take the piss out of PTs for counting reps? I was like, I've never counted a rep in my life. I was too busy asking them questions.
How many am I on? 6. Well, that's it. You're a when you transfer online, you're a personal trainer without a personal touch, and that's the hardest thing to get. Like, if you're not getting that communication, which is absolutely vital between you and your clients, then because you don't have these opportunities to talk to them or sit down with them, it's like you're relying on what they're either writing to you via an app or via a text message or whatever, and you've got to take that on as like the truth, and you can't see the emotion in their face, you can't look at them when they're telling you something, and you just got to take their word for it.
That's why we introduced those videos, the videos to our platform where people video themselves doing workouts and stuff. Just video themselves,
I
because
have to have that.
But what you're touching upon there, which I love, was that the personal touch is so hard to make. And what we do in our welcome packs, so the last thing we write on our welcome packs were, don't ever feel like you're annoying me by asking too many questions, because the more questions you ask, the more likely this is to be a massive success.
Yeah, and another question for you leading on from this is 2 questions. First one, do you think if COVID hadn't happened, you'd still be trying to work on the gym floor, or would you have gone online? And how do you, like we just touched on, what techniques do you use to get that personal relation with your clients? So any coaches listening to this that might be able to get some words of wisdom from someone that succeeded.
Oh, great bonus questions, mate. I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you. Don't know about the success part though.
It's your part.
Would I still be on the gym floor? I think there's a very good chance that I potentially would have been. If you'd have told me 3 years ago that I would want to not live in Manchester and live in Barley, honestly, like, it's still a bit of a running joke with my friends that I've decided to do that, because I will live in Manchester my entire life. My weekends will be spent going to the football, and that is that. I really don't know. I think there's a very good chance that I would still be in person. I to be honest, when COVID was happening and I realised that I'd lost all my clients in the commercial gym I was based in, there was a point where I was considering a studio, because I knew a lad who'd done quite similar in a different area. Don't know.
You're kind of just forced into.
I don't think I would have gone online. Nah, I really don't know.
But the thing for you is like,
it was a very hand-forced situation. It was like I remember when, literally, I joke about it, but when COVID got announced, around my mum was like, I can't pay my rent, I've got nothing, like for my actual house.
Yeah.
So it was like my hand was forced, and then when things were online, I was like.
But that shows like, also someone that's successful is like you're placed with a problem and you found a solution. You're like, right, I'm going to work online. It's same like you touched on earlier when you first got into training. It's like you were going into gyms, you weren't a personal trainer, but you were making it work. And like, we've had a lot of successful people on the podcast, and throughout their whole life, it's like they've been faced with problems and with issues, and they've made it work, and they've hustled and they made it happen. And I think that's a true sign of like, if you want to make it happen, you can make it happen, and you can rate that all the way back to why am I feeling fat? And it's like, if you want to make it happen, you make it happen.
It is on, like, support from elsewhere is amazing. Like, I've had coaches, like, say, I'll read, like, I'll do everything, but ultimately, implementation will always be on an individual to do it.
Yeah. Well, we spoke about this in the cafe before when we were saying, like, why don't I have my own education school for nutrition? And it's because I don't necessarily know if I want people going around saying I was educated under Mike Nicholson, because you can't control then how they implement that with their clients. Because I can give them all the best information in the world and give them the best education in the world, but if they then go and put people on keto diets and make them intermittent fast,
I told you.
And I'm like, what? Definitely not. But yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to move on to the sections now, what we do in every podcast. These are super interesting questions, and I'm intrigued to see whether you understand the premise. What do you think, Samuel?
Yeah, I'm interested to hear about it.
So section
really
one
confused.
Section one is, what is the most important thing you do outside of the box or gym that helps you inside the box or gym?
The most important thing I do outside the gym, I'd say the structure that I put in my day.
Okay.
Like, I have a very strict routine. Go and jump in the sea, have a coffee, then my working day starts, and identifying within that day when it gets to 2 o'clock, don't speak to me for 2 hours. Like, I have this mid-afternoon lull, and I know that now. I used to really get myself frustrated about it, but my day is mapped around it. So my mornings will have work structured really clearly for 3 hours, and then stick to what I actually say I'm going to do within that structure. I think going back to like when I started out, I didn't have any of those sort of things in place. I just sort of wing it, do a client update here, go and train here, and just see what happened. I think having structure and planning my day out, and it gives you more time back. 100% gives you more time back when you do it that way.
Yeah, I think that's really important, especially here in Bali, because there's so many pros of doing in Bali, but there's also cons because it's so distracting, and there's always something happening, and it's so easy to like, especially when you've got to hold yourself accountable. And I think structuring your day is a really good way to do that, because otherwise you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, someone's invited me to breakfast, and you go there and it's been 2 hours, and you're like, oh, I'll go to the beach, I'll do this, and suddenly you're like, oh, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I haven't even opened my laptop.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that structure, every day is just drifting into that, because Bali is such a sociable place, and it's so easy to get caught up in that. So I think structure is a really good answer.
I think anywhere that people are coming for short term, other people on holiday and stuff, it's very easy to fall into that mode of, well, everyone else is on holiday enjoying themselves. Why don't I enjoy myself like they are doing? But if you live here and you're trying to make a business work, you can't be on holiday every day.
I definitely had that stage when I first got here.
100%.
I was like, ooh, I'm in Bali and sunset beers all the time, and then it's like,
yeah, got to go back to reality.
Got to live here, like.
But you're now getting up every morning super early, right? Is that something that was hard for you at the start, or you?
I always get up early.
Yeah.
I didn't used to when I back in the day. I read The Miracle Morning. Have you read it? For some reason, it just twigged me. I was like, I'm going to start using my mornings, because I'm a morning person anyway. Like, I'm most active in the morning. I've only just started throwing the sea dip in. Normally, I would just get up, journal, read, and then start my day pretty much from there.
Yeah.
I tried to do something outdoors at the start. Yeah.
It's so easy here though. Just like 2 minutes on your bike, you're at the beach, and at sunrise, you jump in the sea, and it's like there is literally in my opinion, no better way to start the day.
There really isn't. Like, don't get me. And do you know what? My mate said it to me this morning. Who was there? He was like, you know when your alarm goes off for this, because he comes with me every morning. He's like, do you want to get up? I'm like, nah. Like, I want to press snooze, obviously, but it's routine and making a commitment to yourself and keeping it in it.
But that's the crazy thing, because if you do press snooze, you'll then wake up half an hour later and you'll hate yourself. Yeah. You'll be like, I can't believe I didn't go. Yeah. And at the time you're like, I don't want to go so bad. Yeah. But then you commit to it and you do go, and you're driving back from the beach and you're like, I'm so glad I did that.
Exactly.
And you never ever regret it.
Awesome. So section 2, we're going to move on to now. We've spoke about what you feel like the biggest asset in your day is that helps you inside the gym. But what is now your favourite thing to do outside of the gym?
Do you know what?
Here we go.
Nah, this is really boring. The way that I said to you before, I don't see jiu-jitsu as in the gym. I'm not going to give you that as an answer, but like it really is my favourite thing. Like if I had to say what my hobbies are, it's that. Outside the gym, I'm a hobbit.
Okay.
I'm very, very boring during the week. I usually do something at the weekends. Football would be the thing, like particularly at home. I spent pretty much my entire, from the age of 15 until I moved here, going to United, home and away every week. This is a really boring answer, and you're making me realise how boring my life tends to be.
No.
Sometimes that's good. Like a few other people have said, just like me time, just being on my own.
Yeah.
Especially like if you're working or if you're in like spend a lot of time in very social environments, whether it's the gym or cafe or whatever. So it is nice just to like have a bit of me time.
Do you know, I think it's easy to take that for granted in Bali. Like you'll easily go out for dinner or something twice a week. So I wouldn't even think of that as an answer to you now.
Yeah.
Like because it's just part of the week here, because for people listening,
I
it can be
go out for
easier.
dinner most nights by myself.
Do you? Yeah.
Just go on little dates by myself most nights.
It's so easy to do
You don't
that.
really mates.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's another thing as well. It's like going out. This sounds bad, but going out for dinner every night is hard.
Yeah, no, it is. No, it genuinely is. What?
Sympathise with us.
Third world problems over here. Sorry, guys, we have to
You're
go
like,
out
oh,
every
I've got to
night.
go sit down, and then you might bump into someone, and it's just like noisy, and there's all these like external factors that are definitely like for me.
Mate, I can't get a table at
fatiguing.
Lola's these days.
Yeah,
Do me head in.
Well, if you order Gojek for Lola's, it says 28 minutes and it comes an hour later.
It's never 28 minutes.
100%.
Oh, I hate that.
You hate Lola's, though, don't you?
I hate that.
But I really love that
Sorry,
about
lads.
Bali. It's a very
Sorry,
social
lads.
place, and you can dip in and out as you need to. If
Yeah,
you want to
exactly.
go out for dinner, realistically, somebody's going out for dinner that night.
Yeah.
If you want to go for a night out,
Like-
somebody's having a night
I like my self dates. It's the only way I'm guaranteed to
I'll walk in and see him and be like, not today, mate. Go and sit over there.
So what we're going to do now is going to move on to section 3. This is normally a chosen topic by our guest. However, I kind of pushed this topic on you a little bit just because I read one of your Instagram posts maybe a week ago, and I quite liked it. And I thought, you know what? When we get Andy on the podcast, I really want to talk about that because I really agree with it, to be honest. And it's something that we talk about on this podcast a lot, which is motivation factors. So it's why the first day of your journey isn't the hardest day.
God, that's a great Instagram post, isn't it? At that ginger guy. What I said on that was everybody starts. And it's so true. Everybody tries something and everybody starts somewhere, but the reality is, not going into the reasons of why it doesn't work, because we've touched on them many times, but it's never going to be the most difficult bit. The start of something, you're motivated, you're excited. Let's say you've got a new training program and you're like, woo, I'm feeling good, I'm fresh. There will be a point, and I'm sure you guys have it with CrossFit training, whether it's sticking to nutrition stuff, whether it's jiu-jitsu. There are points, like I train sometimes, and I go in and I get half an hour of just being smashed to pieces, and I'm like, why am I bothering with this? They're the moments what become so much more important. Like you'll have a lift, and I'm sure sometimes you're like, how am I not getting that? Or maybe you don't because you're machines, I don't know.
I definitely do.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the bit where it would be so easy to say, I'm not going to train jiu-jitsu tomorrow, or I'm going to have to park that for a few weeks, or whatever it might be, I'm just going to sack the diet off, or anything like that. When it's at that, if you control that movement, and again, it comes down to responsibility and taking control of your actions, that's where people will see a breakthrough, because it's where you've probably never done it before. And when you make that decision, it's like, oh, right. Like, and you start to feel proud of yourself, and then it'll happen. I think those moments are much, because they're more real. Like I said myself, I've spent 3 years just trying and things not going to plan. Those moments happen, and if you let every single one of them own you,
I find this super interesting because we speak about a lot on the podcast intrinsic and extrinsic motivation factors, and extrinsic motivation factors run out. They always run out. No matter who you are in the world, whatever that extrinsic motivation factor is, it will run out at some point. If it's to win the CrossFit Games and you win the CrossFit Games and then you retire, that motivation factor has gone. It's run out. So then I feel like this is kind of what we're talking about a little bit. The extrinsic motivation factors to start may be exciting, they may be super motivating, but they will run out at some point. So when we have an intrinsic motivation factor, you're more likely to be successful. We speak about that all the time. Even those can wane though a little bit. They can still kind of slow down and kind of...
It's knowing your why behind it and your values and where they back it up. I do a lot of value work with clients at the start, because I think when you understand why something's important to you, say if it's a parent and they value family, and it's like, right, well, you're not just going to the gym because I want you to go to the gym. You're going because it's a bit of you time. You're going to come back feeling fresher, more healthy. You're going to be a better parent because you're going to be able to, I don't know, play more with your kids, or involve them in more nutritious meals. And all of a sudden it's like, I'm not just going, I don't just need motivation to go to the gym. The link is because my family's important to me, and this can feed back into that.
Yeah, I really like that answer. If you don't understand why you're doing it, then you're never going to keep doing it.
You never can do it, yeah.
And for me as well, it's just like, you can't have a good day every day, but you can't have a good day without a bad day.
There's my next Instagram post.
No, it's true. Like, I have days in training when I'm like, I feel amazing, but if I felt like that every day, I don't think the feeling would not be the same. Like, the high wouldn't be as up there. Like yesterday, I didn't want to train at all, and I was just like forced myself through a session. And I know, like, at the end of it, I was like, oh, I'm actually so glad that I got that done, because if two weeks down the line or whatever, and I'm looking myself in the mirror, I'm looking at a goal or whatever, and I'm like, if I hadn't done that session that day, I wouldn't be here where I am now, and I wouldn't feel so good about the journey that got me to where I want to be. And also, I know, like, if I have a good session today, then I can look back at yesterday and be like, this feels so much better than yesterday. This is why I come to the gym. This is what I want to feel. And then that links back to me, and that's my why. It's like, I want to chase that high. I want to feel good, and keep that going.
Yeah, I'm super happy with those responses. I think there's a lot to take
Also,
on board there.
I just wanted to, from this question as well, like, something that I remember seeing from you, like, way back last year with quarantine and COVID. That's coming. And I like the way you said, like, at the start of your journey, like the first day you got into quarantine in London, right, and you were there for 2 weeks.
3 weeks, though.
3 weeks. Yeah.
To restart it.
And as soon as you got there, you did something that set you up to stay, like, motivated and entertaining for the rest of us anyway throughout that whole thing. I just want you to touch on what you did there. We'll talk about it.
My friend Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So I won't do the long story, but basically I had to quarantine in London, and then on day 3 my test came back inconclusive. Day 4 I retested, and I said it was positive again. I'd already had COVID the month before, so it wasn't. So I ended up with 3 weeks in a room in London, and I took inspiration from the great Tom Hanks, got a plastic volleyball, drew a face on it and called him Wilson, and spent literally every day just thinking of the most ridiculous possible videos and things that me and Wilson could do together. And it was wonderful.
Was it all PG?
Well, there was a video. There was a video of us in the bath together. Yeah, and do you know what? Right, that quarantine. Everyone, like, when I say it to people, like, oh, that must have been tough. I'm like, actually, it wasn't that bad. Like,
Because you made it good.
Yeah, just made it.
Like, that's it.
What
Like,
it is, it's
you took
only
a choice
something,
on day
innit?
3 there to do something, and that gave you something to put your mind to, and to, like, be creative, think of ideas, and suddenly then you're keeping your mind going. If you make a decision on that same day to be like, oh, I'm here for 3 weeks now, and suddenly pull yourself into a bad headspace, then you're going to have the worst 3 weeks ever, and you're probably going to be unproductive or whatever. But just doing that one thing at the start, and I think it really relates back to this, like, is the first day the hardest day? And for you, on that first day or day 3 or whatever day you've got your results back, you made a decision that day to make every day better. So potentially, yeah, that is the hardest day. But if you do it right, then the next 3 weeks or the next 3 years are going to be right, because you've started on the right track, and you can only continue from there. So I think that was a really nice kind of, like, show of your, like, mindset and, like, the motivation factors that you're able to create for yourself, not only in, like, business and your coaching and your training, but for you and your, like, own mental health, which I thought was really inspiring as well.
At least you didn't film yourself doing 1,000 press-ups.
Yeah, that's what I did.
that's what he did.
Finally recovered after
Mate,
that.
there wasn't space for a press up in that room. It's
Check
tiny.
that out on my YouTube channel.
The life of Bish.
That's
Sam's,
right.
There you go. I'm sick of hearing it. So, if this is a question we ask every one of our guests, and the answers actually vary greatly. So I'm intrigued to see what yours is here. It's, if you were starting your journey now, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
If I was starting now, to stick with something and stay with it. find something that suited me and stick to it. The amount of times, like if I go back to when I started trying to lose weight, honestly, I would get frustrated after a couple of days. I'd have a ridiculous blowout of the weekend. I remember a stage, and I'm pretty sure my training over 6 weeks looked like 2 weeks of basically ridiculous fasted hill sprints. Then it wasn't working because I was like ruining things at the weekends, and what were fasted hill sprints ever going to do for me? So then I naturally Googled how to get in shape and saw German volume training. Gave that a bash for 2 weeks. It's like, but I'm not rich yet. What's going on?
This is broken.
These Germans don't know.
Why has Google lied to me again?
So then I was obviously back to Google because it wasn't Google's fault or mine. It was obviously the program was wrong. Went onto that. Is it called Strong? Which 3x5 squats, rows, and bench.
Strong lifts.
5, 3, 1.
That's strong lifts.
Yeah. Went onto that. Naturally, within 2 weeks, I wasn't jacked. So put that in the bin. Whereas, not saying any of them were the perfect programs for me, but it's having zero patience with it.
No, but if you'd have stuck at strong lifts for 12 months,
yeah, if I'd have actually cared,
and not been out and gone absolutely mental at the weekends,
exactly,
it would have worked.
But that's what I mean. So I would say the biggest thing is if you have a goal, you're going to work towards it. One, obviously, you want to get the right thing, but then stick with the process. Don't let a couple of weeks or not seeing progress or thinking that it's going to happen overnight, because it never does. Same with business. It really doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, when you were saying that, I was thinking that that's probably great advice for business as well when people are starting new businesses. Like there's research out there that shows like for the first 18 months you're probably not going to make any profit.
Yeah.
And 18 months is a long time to stick at something without seeing any profit back. But as long as you stay passionate and keep working, don't quit, you're going to be successful in the long run.
Like online, how often do you feel like you might put a post out or put stories on? It's like absolutely nobody's listening to me here. But somebody is. 100% somebody's listening. And they're only going to listen again if you're there tomorrow to tell them the same thing.
Yeah.
And you only need one person.
Yeah.
And like if I do something or say something and one person takes something away from it, I'm like, that was definitely worth it. Or one person enjoys it, then of course it was worth it.
I bet you get this on Instagram where like out of the blue you'll get a message from somebody. It's like, just so you know, not a client or anything like that, but like, that really helped me, or I applied that, or what you said about that really. And that's the best feeling in the world to know, like, yeah, someone's took something out of that.
Or when you'll look at it and you'll get somebody who'll like posts from like 3 months ago or something, you'll think, oh, what's this person's game? But then you'll go in your message request and it'll be a message saying, just want to say thank you very much, your page has really helped me out. So you're thinking, oh well, they've actually been back through it, and that's why they've been back
it's
through it.
It's not one of them weird accounts that just likes all.
No, it's not just likes or some kid.
That's not weird, is it?
Check my notifications, standish.
Yeah. I actually love that answer because regardless of whether you're looking at like a fitness journey or a health journey or a business journey, I think that really is applicable to everyone. Yeah. So I love that.
People
just
limit
consistency
themselves with time, don't they?
Yeah, I think consistency and not giving up. Every single, like, we have like some massive names on here, Sonny, Darren, Sean, they've all said that when they first started, when they first started, they failed, and then they had to learn from those failures to go again, and learn from those failures to keep going, learn from those failures to keep going. But if they'd have stopped after one failure, then where would they be now? Would they be in the places they are? No, they definitely wouldn't be.
Yeah, and being brave enough to try out different things and different techniques. Like, I know you said you tried 3 different styles of training program, but essentially you're still doing training. It's like maybe if you'd have tried jiu-jitsu or like a different sport or something, like you might have found success a little bit quicker rather than just being like, okay, I try this program, don't like it, try this program, don't like it. It's like, you either get yourself a coach that's going to help provide you with a program that you want to be doing, that you actually enjoy, it's going to be beneficial and keep you going in the long term, or find something that's maybe not going to the gym and it's doing another sport. Like, I love what you say about your feelings around doing your jiu-jitsu, that doesn't feel like training for you. And if you can find something that doesn't feel like training for you, suddenly you're getting the benefits without having that feeling of forcing yourself to do it and actually enjoying it. And then you're never going to stop.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Like I say, I love the answer. I love the interpretation of it. It's absolutely brilliant. What we're going to do now is just going to give... Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go? We are coming to the end of this awesome conversation. What I love about this conversation is something the 3 of us would probably have had in the cafe, sat around a table anyway, and we're lucky that we can just press record on the camera and invite you guys to join in and hopefully feel like you've been part of this conversation.
You have. I've enjoyed having you. I don't know, Sam just wanted to touch on my CrossFit career and how well it's going.
Yeah, well, I think you two could actually go for a pretty good head-to-head. You're just lucky he didn't take part in the competition last week.
Here we go.
But I haven't seen you in for a few days, mate. What's going on?
I know, yeah. No excuses. I'm back.
This is. I'm just going to tell you. Sam said this because he's mad with me because we worked out yesterday together and didn't go quite to plan for Sam, so he's a little bit upset today. That's
Like I said, you got to have a bad day.
We have those days. Sticking with it.
So he's trying to throw him under the bus because of that. But no, we just want to say thank you very much for popping by. If the viewers at home, if all of our 7 viewers at home want to find you somewhere, 8 now.
We've probably got at least 8 now.
Yeah,
My mum will watch it. I'll be 9.
oh,
There
mate.
you go. Keep them coming.
Hi.
Hi, breeder.
So where can they find you?
I am at that ginger guy on Instagram, Facebook. Instagram and Facebook, really.
And your podcast.
And podcast called the Start Simple Podcast. Very, very similar setup to this. It's just I don't put it on camera because it's recorded on the kitchen table with my laptop.
Yeah.
What sort of topics do you go through on your podcast that might find interesting to our
Podcast.
guests?
So in terms of like practical application, I cover similar stuff to what you guys will talk about with nutrition, training. I have a guest on every other week from... I've actually taken my guests with a bit of a different route at the minute because I was finding I was having a lot of personal trainers on. And rightly so, we were all talking about the same things, the importance of habits and things like that. And similar to what you guys are doing now, I'm trying to get as many like different people from different angles as possible. So the guests are always good. I had professional boxers on, therapist on recently, really good episode. Selling the podcast here. But yeah,
So it sounds like if you like our podcast, you're going to love Andy's podcast.
There you
exactly.
go. And Sam, go on then. Where can people find you, Sam?
If you guys want to find me,
Sambish
you can find me at Sambish92.
Or on Instagram, the life of it.
By the time... Thank you, yeah. Mike knows it off by heart because he is my number 1 fan. By the time this episode is out, my latest YouTube video will be out. So check that out. It's a really good video of when we went to Gilly, and Mike's in there too, so you might be able to
Am I in
find.
there?
And you're in there as well, actually.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you got the back of
There
your
you
head
go.
a few times. So that'll be out. And then next week, we're recording another episode with my coach and mentor, Bolt. So that's going to be a very, very insightful episode, more like training and training progressions, programming, your why around training, and that's going to be a great conversation. So make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to us on the YouTube channel, so you can watch it live. You can see us on the sofa here, or listen to us in your ears on Spotify and Apple Music.
Yeah, Cambodia in 2 weeks, Sri Lanka in 4 weeks, back to Bali for seminar in Bali, Thailand on the 10th of August for 4 weeks, and then Austin, Texas for 6 weeks. So if you are in any of those places, hit me up and we'll get you some tickets. Otherwise, at Mike Nico on Instagram.
Yeah, there's his life story, so you probably don't need to follow him anymore.
You bring
Okay.
me and Sam with you.
No, I'm staying here, holding down the podcast.
But we may need a replacement.
Yeah.
We may need a mic replacement for that time.
Yeah, we'll get one. As always, if you guys did hear something in this episode that you found really interesting, please do share it around with your friends if they might find it interesting too. Get the word out there. We're going to keep rolling with the episodes, so any feedback you guys have for us, let us know so we can keep improving this service for you guys as well.
So because Sam's going to the UK on Sunday, so if you're in the UK from Sunday onwards...
Technically, I'll already be there by the time this episode goes
Yeah.
out.
Oh yeah, but you'll still have 10 days.
Yeah.
10 days left.
Inundated with
So-
messages now.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to hook up with Sam whilst he's there,
On a friendship basis.
nah. We need stories for when he comes back. Hit him up there. And thank you very much for listening. Cheers, guys.
Da, 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 da.
Life outside the box.
Yay! Peace out. Done.